To me, it seems obvious. Elementary particles are like soap bubbles of electric, magnetic, and gravitational fields. If you are trained in physics, then take a moment and recall Newton's laws of motion. Now recall the fundamental idea of electromagnetic induction, as worked on by Maxwell, Faraday, Lorentz, Lenz, and others. With the idea of induction in mind, when you change an electric field, it makes a magnetic field. When you change a magnetic field, it makes an electric field. This is very well known. However, for those of you trained in physics, you may not have pondered this. When you change an electric field or a magnetic field in these spherical waves, the cross product changes as well. Induction includes gravity. The gravitational field in the spherical waves also changes. Let me point out, this changes the law of gravity. It is no longer static, it is dynamic. Gravity becomes a function of a particle's velocity. The faster an elementary particle is moving, the greater is its mass and gravity. Now, take what you've learned about spherical waves and apply that idea to Newton's laws. Don't think of the particle as some solid hunk of matter. Imagine each elementary particle as a standing spherical wave, like flexible soap bubbles made up of electric, magnetic, and gravitational fields. With respect to Newton, an elementary particle does not want to speed up or slow down, because as soon as external forces accelerate an elementary particle, this acceleration immediately affects the pre-existing electric, magnetic, and gravitational fields that are already present in the particle. New induced fields appear along with the pre-existing fields. Accelerating the existing electric field in the particle induces a change in the magnetic field. Accelerating the existing magnetic field in the particle induces a change in the electric field. Because their cross product changes as well, this induces a change in the gravitational field. That is what mass is. This is the essence of force equals mass times acceleration. That is why inertial mass and gravitational mass are the same. If this truly is a grand unification theory, then obviously this must happen. In essence, Newton's physics is embedded in the ball of light particle model. Each and every particle contains within it the information it needs to have in order to move correctly. No computer is needed to tell the particle how to move. No software program is needed. The required program is embedded in the particle. The particle always reacts at the speed of light because it is made of light, so to speak. Don't think of these spherical waves as being rock solid either. They are not always perfectly round spheres that have an unchanging diameter. They are flexible. They can vibrate, they wiggle, they undulate, and of course these spherical waves can expand or shrink. Again, just picture a Hoverman sphere and picture this as the particle and the electric and magnetic fields are on the surface, and it's moving along, and then it changes speed, and then it shrinks or expands as needed. So it can pulsate, it can change its shape. The length, or more accurately the shape and mass, will contract or dilate as needed. For me, one of the really cool things is every photon and every elementary particle simply knows how it should act. It is like they all have a software program built in. It is like they all have knowledge. It is like they all have brains. There's no need for central control. Each photon, each elementary particle does not need a dictator, does not need a government with central control to tell us what to do, to tell it what to do. This knowledge, this programming, this brain, this soul, this identity is built into every photon and every elementary particle. I am in awe of this. Let's do a simple example. Imagine this is an electron. A photon hits it. They combine. In essence, the spherical wave of the photon wraps around the wave of the electron. The extra energy wants to make the particle slightly bigger. However, The increased motion from the collision induces the pre-existing fields and makes the particle contract. In this new type of physics, this dilation, this contraction, is described as happening to the particle, not to space. Again, we start with a particle. The extra energy makes it bigger and accelerates it. The three fields induce greater values and the particle contracts. In essence, the concepts of length contraction and mass dilation, as described in relativity, are embedded in the ball of light particle model. Space has no role. Well, if space has a role, then it only limits how fast light can travel. Again, I got lucky. When I started to go through the physics maze, understanding time was the key that unlocked a new door. Understanding time enabled me to unlock the door. It led to a new path. That path leads us straight to the center of the maze, to the center of the labyrinth we call physics. All the pieces to this puzzle have been sitting around in front of scientists for over 100 years. Understanding time allowed me to simply rearrange the pieces and see a different picture. It allowed me to see a new type of physics. Physicists love it when ideas incrementally change and improve physics. Unfortunately, this is not incremental. This is a completely new type of physics. This new physics has major implications for astronomy. It completely changes the theory for how stars work. It will completely change how we think supernovas work. It will completely change how we think galaxies are made and how they evolve. It makes significant changes to the Big Bang theory. In my opinion, this new physics implies that elementary particles have a limit to their density. There is a maximum density, which, if you think about it, is a good thing. In other words, infinite density is not possible. Without infinite density, this completely destroys any underpinnings for theories that rely on infinite densities. In essence, black hole theory is completely wrong. Let me make this absolutely clear. I agree there are massive objects in the locations where supposedly black holes are located. However, they have a diameter. They have a maximum density. Photons of light and elementary particles can escape from their surface. Therefore, they are not black holes. What else does this predict? Dark matter theory is completely wrong. Dark energy theory is completely wrong. I'd prefer to be more diplomatic with astronomers, but what can I do? If this physics is correct, then current astronomical theory is wrong. The problems are not the stuff on the edges of astronomical theory either. The problems are in the central theories of astronomy. There's a famous astronomer, Halton Arp, who has been saying this for years. He's been pointing out there are obvious major problems with current astronomical theory. Because he's expressed his views, the other astronomers have been blackballing him. It appears Halton Arp has been correct about just about everything he's been seeing. Earlier, I showed you this animation of a rebounding spherical wave. At the time I mentioned, I believe this is happening on the surface of electrons. I believe this is also happening on the surface of pulsars. If correct, this completely changes pulsar theory. It appears a standing spherical wave can pulse inwards and outwards like this. You may be familiar with how kinetic and potential energy varies in a swinging pendulum. If you studied physics, you've studied this. As a pendulum swings back and forth, its energy changes from potential energy to kinetic energy. This is shown on the left side of this graphic. When a spherical wave pulsates, something similar happens between the three fields in the spherical wave. This is shown on the right side of the graphic. During these pulsations, the energy is swinging back and forth between the electromagnetic and gravitational. When the wave is at its largest diameter, there will be greater gravitational potential energy and less electromagnetic potential energy. When the wave is smallest diameter, there is less gravitational potential energy and more electromagnetic potential energy. If the universe is cycling through big bangs and big crunches, then this also describes how the universe's energy varies over time. This detail will change how we view the Big Bang. I've thought about this now for about 35 years, since I was a teenager. The biggest problem I had was with astronomy. When the physics seemed obvious, I would look at astronomy and just shake my head. Everything pointed to the physics being right and the astronomers being wrong. Gradually, I realized an entirely new theory of astronomy was the solution. Gradually, over many years, I asked myself hundreds of what-if questions. What if this astronomy theory is different? What if that astronomy theory is different? Gradually, I built a new theory of astronomy. When I was able to predict the sun's solar activity better than any astronomer, I knew I was on the right track. Keep in mind, this new physics is central to my fusion power plant designs. Keep in mind, a simple $40 experiment agrees with this new physics. So I don't need to waste my time debating astronomers on all the details. So all we need to do is build my fusion power plants. If they work, then I'm right, and then many old astronomical theories are wrong. If I'm correct, then the spherical pulsing I've been describing also describes a type of star called Cepheid variables. Cepheids are pulsating stars. Essentially, my fusion power plant designs create a miniature pulsating star, like a Cepheid variable, in the center of each core. As these mini stars pulsate, they are suspended in a spherical electromagnetic confinement field. I can't wait to see people standing around my fusion power plants watching these pulsating miniature stars. Well, they'll not be able to stand directly next to them or see them directly. You'll need to watch this on a monitor. If I had a couple of extra hours, then I could only give you an introduction on how this new physics will create a new astronomy. It's a big topic. I think most people are going to be shocked when they learn just how big elementary particles can get. This is not only extremely interesting, it is extremely important. We must understand how stars really work for our own safety. In my opinion, our sun is more variable and more dangerous than astronomers believe. I plan on making a number of dedicated science films on astronomy later. For now, that is it on the Grand Unification of Physics. I hope you have found this interesting and extremely satisfying. Next, I'll explain how this physics will affect fusion energy.